Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. In today's video, I'm going to talk about why being selfish is a good thing. So now the word selfish, unfortunately, has kind of a bad reputation, right? There's like negative thoughts associated with it. But I believe there's a good and a bad selfish. Now good selfish is when you do things that you want to be doing, right? You're doing things that make you feel good about yourself. And then obviously a bad selfish is when you're hurting or affecting other people in a negative way. I think most of us can really understand the difference between the two, but what about if it's both? What if something you want to be doing also negatively affects another person? And a lot of the times that's the situation we find ourselves in, is the reason why we don't do something, because it is going to negatively affect somebody. So how do we determine if we should still do it or not? And one example I have for you is, let's say that you're living with family, or let's say a couple of roommates, right? And you guys are all living together. And you decide that, you want to move out and you want to live on your own, right? Now, there's obviously a couple ways to go about it, right? Because right now, if you move out, you are negatively affecting someone in the sense of now they have to either replace you with someone else who's going to pay your portion of the rent, or they have to come up with the extra themselves. So I think a negative way to maybe handle that situation is just to leave and say nothing, right? Because then you put the other person in a very bad, very difficult situation where they have to find someone unexpectedly. But to me, a good selfish would be to sit down with that, person or people or family, right? And let them know your thought process of, hey, I'm wanting to move out. I just, I want to either live on my own or maybe live with different people, right? Maybe you're living with family, you want to start living with friends because kind of a different experience, right? Or maybe you do just want to move out and live by yourself. Now, you are, by the definition, negatively affecting other people, but that is a situation where I think there's ways to look at that where it's actually not a negative. Now, let's say you explain it to them and they still are going to be mad and upset at you for wanting to move out, right? What do you do in that situation, right? Now, I know for myself, right, if I was in that situation, I would say to myself, I understand that they're mad and upset, but again, I have the right to do what I feel is best for me, and I still feel like I took their situation into consideration and understanding where they're at and how it affects them. But again, right now, if you signed, like, let's just say, for example, I took their feelings into consideration and we just signed a 1-year lease and we're 2 months in and I decide to move. Right? Now, maybe I probably didn't take their feelings into consideration too much. We just signed a 1-year lease. But let's just say it's a situation where your family is kind of doing you a favor, right, by letting you live there cheap, or maybe your friend's doing you a favor, right, by letting you live there cheap. And you kind of can make the decision to move anytime you want because you're not really tied down to having to pay the money, and they don't really need the rent from you, right? They're doing you a favor. Right now, let's say if you take their feelings into consideration and you have that conversation and they're still a little upset. So let's attack both. Let's just say that, we'll go with situation number 1, where you just signed a lease, right? Now, if they say, hey, I understand you want to move, but we did just sign a 1-year lease. I feel like it would be best for all of us for you to finish out the lease, right? To me, a couple responses I would maybe give to that is, A, if my name is obviously on the lease, I probably would, because I wouldn't want it to affect my credit, I would say, yeah, of course, we'll finish out the lease, but I think, come the end of the lease term, I do want to look for a different place, right? Another way to go about it is to, let's say you guys are not on the lease and, the person owns the house and you guys are just paying rent because there's a couple of roommates, right, because you're all buddies. So I think another good option would be you maybe say to that person, I understand that, I told you I was going to be here for 8 more months, and it's a difficult spot for you. How about you look for another roommate, and as soon as you find somebody, then I can move out, right? This way you're giving that person a solution because, again, you're understanding that it's a difficult situation for them and you're trying to make sure that you're not really negatively affecting them too much, right? But again, you want to live in a different situation, and even though it might negatively affect them, right, as long as you give it like actual thoughtful consideration and you're looking out for them, but you understand that you need to do what's best for you, I don't feel like there's anything wrong with that. Now let's say you give that solution, they say, I think that's a terrible idea because I don't want to look for a roommate. Well, now they're not taking your feelings into consideration, right? They're not understanding that you need to do what you need to do to be happy. And to me, when I sense that somebody is not understanding of my situation, even though I'm clearly being understanding of their situation, then I start to get on a mode of, okay, well, if they don't care, that's not the same thing as what I'm doing, right? And then I say, hey, I know I need to do this for me. And if that person is unwilling to do that, right, that's not my problem. That's theirs. Now, obviously, going back to that second option, if you signed a lease, it is what it is. You might have to just finish the lease out, right? And obviously you can use other examples, right, to where maybe it's not like a lease, nothing like that, but just you want to do something, right? Maybe you want to change jobs, right? You don't want to be working where you're currently working, right? Or maybe you want to transfer it within your job just to a different department or anything like that. Maybe you're doing something that makes you feel good, right? That might cause someone else a little discomfort, but it's okay, because as long as I feel you take their feelings into consideration, right, and you understand and you empathize with them that you are putting them in a bit of a difficult situation and you respect them to where you don't want to put them in that situation, but you're also voicing that, hey, your feelings matter too, and if you're not feeling great in the situation you're in and you're just trying to change it to feel and be in a better situation, if that person really cares about you, they'll be understanding as well. And, lastly is you're not doing anybody any favors by pleasing everybody else and not doing what it is that you want to be doing, right? Unfortunately, what ends up happening is you start to feel resentment for yourself for feeling bad for not doing what it is that you want to be doing. And then in turn, you turn that resentment towards the other person who you feel is in control of you not doing what it is that you want to be doing. And I know you guys have all probably felt it. I know I have. When I was not doing things that I want to be doing, I would start to feel resentment, not only towards myself, but towards the person that I felt was putting me in that situation. And once I learned that it's not them, it's really me, and I can control that, and as long as I have a discussion with them about what's going on, if they care about me, they'll understand, and then we'll be able to move forward. So again, thank you guys so much for watching the video. That's the end of the video. I look forward to seeing you guys in the next one. I hope you got some good stuff out of this one. Have a good one.